I think psychologically it's because it makes you remember that that's your job.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? Haven't seen you.
Oh, it has been a while.
Yeah. Huh?
Really? Yeah.
Before the Sunday meeting.
Bring the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And do the roll call,
Greg
please.
Wooster.
Here.
William Swanson.
Here.
Robert Del Sardo.
Present.
Kathleen Abbate. Mark Culper.
Here.
Public comment? Then, we move on. Diane, do you have any correspondence?
No.
Everyone get the minutes from September 6th, 2012. Any changes? Deletions? Everybody okay with the minutes? Have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
A second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Ayes have it, thank you. We have guests here tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, got one more item. I'm jumping ahead. Invoices. We need to approve the invoices that we, some of us signed earlier.
Yeah, some of us did and some of us didn't.
Have a motion to approve the invoices?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
invoices.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries, thank you. Now we get together with Mayor Tully, Michael Casson. We're going to do a presentation of, I should say that Michael Casson is from the Economic Development. Of course, Steve, work for you, Mayor.
Why don't I just get right into it?
Go right ahead.
Good evening, thank you, Mr. Supervisor, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for putting us on the agenda. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Martin Tully. I have the privilege of being the mayor of Downers Grove, your host community for this building. With me tonight is Michael Cassa, who is our Director of Economic Development with the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation, which is a separate entity from the Village of Downers Grove, although we have very close ties and we provide funding for the organization. But the DGEDC, as we call it, is a different entity from the Village of Downers Grove. So as we all know, we get confused between the Village of Downers Grove and Downers Grove Township. The Downers Grove Sanitary District, the EDC is separate, so everyone understands that. Once again, thank you very much for having us here tonight. We really appreciate you putting this on the agenda. There are really two reasons why we wanted to come before you tonight. And Michael and I both had independently wanted to come by and say hello, and we figured we'd do it at the same time, just to be respectful of your time. I'm principally here because since I was sworn into office in May of 2011, I have been making a point to visit the different taxing bodies that serve the constituents of Downers Grove. And you may think, well, what the heck took you so long to get here? It's a long time, but I have been making my way through and visiting everyone and basically saying hello. And also speaking in support of a principle of communication, cooperation and collaboration that we are really trying to champion with respect to not just the village, but also all those that we have the top potential to partner with in ways that can be of mutual benefit to our shared constituents. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're all facing, whoever you are, whether you're a township, whether you're a municipality, whether you're a county, whether you're a park district, whether you're a school district, doesn't matter. We're all facing a lot of challenges these days, and by necessity have to look for opportunities to innovate and creatively work together to try to enhance our services or do things better, faster, cheaper than we could by ourselves. You probably know that the village has had a couple of opportunities to do things like partner with District 58 with respect to the service of vehicles for District 58. We entered into an agreement with both them and C-SPAR in order to make available our facilities over at 801 Burlington for servicing vehicles in a way that helps keep our folks busy and also helps C-SPAR and District 58 with respect to their vehicles in ways that they otherwise might not be able to. Probably more widely known one is the combination of the 911 call center between Downers Grove and Westmont. That has worked out really well, and by combining those services, we ended up saving both municipalities several hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And I'm sure you've read of other situations where, whether it's municipalities or other service areas, fire protection districts, or whoever it might be, we're all looking for ways to work together. So all I really want to say by that is that we are very open to any ideas that you may have. If there are any challenges the township is facing that Downers Grove might be able to assist you with in some way, there's no idea that's too wild, too crazy. If it works and it can be justified and it is to the benefit of our shared constituents, we'd be open to it. So if we have ideas, we'll come to you. And I would encourage that if you have any thoughts or ideas where we can somehow work with you to help you with your mission, we'd love to do that. And I've made that same pitch to the schools, to the park districts, to the sanitary district, basically anybody who won't throw me out of their meeting. So that's the main reason why I wanted to come here. The reason why Michael is here tonight is because he is also relatively new in his position as Director of Economic Development for the DGEDC. And he, to his credit, has also been going on a tour, if you will, introducing himself to the various taxing bodies and organizations in town so they understand what the EDC does, because obviously one of the things that's very important to all of us is keeping our economic base vibrant, because we don't keep the economic base vibrant, that affects our revenues. It doesn't matter who you are, municipality, school district, park district, or township. Though Michael wanted to speak a little bit about, introduce himself to you, speak a little bit about what he does, but also identify one item in particular that I'm sure you're aware of, and that is Ogden Avenue is obviously a major commercial corridor for Downers Grove. It's a tax increment financing district. We recently adopted a comprehensive plan for Downers Grove that includes future long-range plans for Downers Grove that build upon the 1999, or is it 2001 now, Ogden Avenue Master Plan. And of course, given where you're located and the property that's around here, we wanted to make sure that you were also aware of some of the things that at least we have included in our long-range plan. So you've been more than patient with me. I'm going to stick around if there's any questions. I'm always happy to ask them. You know how to find me. You know where I live. I'm happy to answer your questions, but I'd really like to turn things over to Michael Castle right now so that he can introduce himself and speak to you a little bit about economic development. Again, thank you very much for allowing us the privilege to speak to you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. I want to echo what the mayor said. Thanks for putting us on your agenda and giving me a chance to spend a few minutes with you. What I'd like to do is just kind of give you an introduction to the Economic Development Corporation, some of the things that we work on, and our mission, and then I do want to talk a little bit about Ogden Avenue. The Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation was launched in 2006, and the role, the mission of the EDC is to retain and attract business into Downers Grove. And I don't have to tell you why that's important. It not only helps create a positive tax base, both property taxes that help fund most of our taxing districts, provide sales taxes for commercial projects that provide revenue for the village, creates jobs for our area residents, and also it just helps enhance our local economy. Everyone benefits from a strong local economy. And so we are basically stewards of Downers Grove's economy. When good things happen, everybody benefits, and when things happen maybe that aren't so good, that hurts everyone. And so it's really important for us to pay attention to our local economy. I would like on a regular basis to come at least once a year, to come visit you. I'm planning early next year in January to do an annual report, if you will, to the village council, and then I will sort of go on the road and visit the other taxing bodies and give you the same presentation. This is how we did in 2012, and sort of a look ahead to 2013. So I hope you'll be gracious enough to allow me to come back and visit you early next year. We're also planning on launching an electronic newsletter which will help share some of the successes and initiatives that we have. And we're going to make that electronic newsletter available to all the elected officials and folks that work for local government. So that would include the township, so that on a regular basis you're getting some communication from us, keeping you informed as to what we're doing. In my previous life when I was working in Oswego. The township was an important part of our economic development team, and we reached out to them and gave them an annual report, if you will, and I want to do that here for you as well. Most of the work we do centers around commercial, office, and industrial. Downers Grove has a very strong and vibrant commercial base stretching from Butterfield down to 75th Street. Again, retail, restaurants, and service providers that serve not only our residents, which are close to 50,000 in the village, but our daytime population is over 100,000 people. Those are folks residents who stay in town to work, or they're, let's say, stay-at-home moms, or they're people who live in other towns who come here to work. So that's 100,000 people who are here during the day, again, helping to make our economy strong. Office is next, and that is a very important part of our local economy. Downers Grove is one of 3 communities, maybe there are more, but 3 communities in DuPage County that have very strong Class A office markets. Oak Brook, Naperville, and Downers Grove. A lot of corporate headquarters, division headquarters in Downers, employing a lot of people and providing, again, a strong base for our community. And the last one is industrial, which, again, is a part of our community that doesn't maybe get as much attention, but it will, as long as I am heading the EDC. We have 2 principal business parks, Ellsworth, and then also Oak Grove, which is north of Butterfield. There's also some light industrial on Warrenville Road. But that's an important part of our economy. We need to enhance it, strengthen it, and hopefully make sure that those companies that are there are successful, because a lot of our residents are employed in those business parks. But like any other endeavor, any business, marketing is an important part of what we do. Part of my job is to tell Downers Grove's story to anyone that'll listen. So like any other business, we do advertising. We buy advertising in real estate and business publications. We develop collateral pieces to give out to folks that are interested in Downers. We use social media, websites. We maintain the official mobile app for Downers, and we use Facebook. So it's important to be part of the modern age and use those social media tools to get our message out. And we do trade shows. Yesterday I spent the entire day at Navy Pier at the International Council of Shopping Centers show, which is the major commercial show in the United States. This was their Chicago version. I also participated in their national show in May. That brings together folks that are involved in commercial development, retail, restaurant, shopping centers. Again, I had several meetings with companies trying to encourage them to come to Downers. Next week I'll be at the Coronet, which is the counterpart for the office and industrial sector. Again, meeting with corporate real estate managers who represent large companies who may have future expansion or relocation projects. Something else that we do that a lot of people aren't aware is we also run the Downers Grove Visitors Bureau. And people, while they often don't think of Downers Grove maybe as a tourist destination, I will tell you that a lot of people visit Downers Grove, a lot of them because there's family or friends here, or because they're in the area, or they're here for corporate travel. A lot of corporate travel comes to Downers. But while people are here, it's important for them to know that we have some great hotels, tremendous restaurants, and a great downtown that we'd like them to visit. And so it's important for us not only to capture business, but also to capture those dollars that come from people that are visiting our community. So much of our local economy is based on people who don't live here, but they spend their money here. And we need to encourage and enhance that as well. Like any other business, we have a product that's on our shelf. So yes, while I'm out there promoting Downers, our product are really available sites. So we maintain a database, a national database we use called CoStar. Any building, any piece of property that's available for sale or for lease, we have all the information on it. We also maintain a separate database for those small pieces of property or small buildings that aren't using a broker, and that's okay too. Kind of like when someone decides to sell their house themselves. We maintain a separate list of those because those are not part of a national site database. So when companies contact our office looking for space or for a site, we're able to have that information for them and run off a full report so that they know that hopefully we have at least one site that meets their needs here in Downers. We reach out to business owners, developers, corporate real estate managers who work directly for companies, and brokers. A lot of work with real estate brokers. And one of the things that I do, I'd say at least twice a week, is I give a tour of Downers Grove. I'm like the tour guide for Downers. We get in the car, and if they're interested in a particular segment of our community or a particular industry, I give them a tour. And Ogden Avenue, by far, gets the most tours. I'd say well over 50% of all the inquiries that come into our office are for Ogden. It remains an important commercial corridor stretching from Chicago all the way to the far western suburbs. Lots of traffic, lots of businesses, and I think lots of opportunity, especially here in Downers. As the mayor mentioned, a good portion of the Ogden Avenue corridor is in a TIF district. And that means there's opportunities there to use funds for public improvements and other site work to help bring a redevelopment to fruition. Part of that has been the OASIS program, the Ogden Avenue Site Improvement Strategy, which provides funds for companies that are looking to improve their own site, their landscaping, their facade, signage. So you have the ability to help with small projects, but also for larger ones. There's almost no tour that I give of Ogden Avenue that doesn't include the properties between Prince and Saratoga on the south side of Ogden. Those two properties, the Marathon Station and that vacant land at Prince, which I guess was a dry cleaner at one time, but is now owned by the FDIC. Those are two properties that are definitely in play. They get a lot of interest. They get interest because you have two properties side by side, but the traffic signal's there, and that signal is a big draw. So, one of the questions that I typically get is, what's happening with the properties around that intersection? And every now and then, a broker or developer will say, hey, I noticed that vacant land along Saratoga. And one developer in particular, who's been working with the folks at Marathon, has asked me, say, could you reach out to the township and ask them about that vacant land along Saratoga, which happens to have a commercial designation in the village's long-range comprehensive plan. So the mayor and I met with the township supervisor recently, and I said, I'm just passing a message along from a broker that is asking on behalf of a client, is that property or part of it available now or in the future? If there is an interest in either selling all or part of that vacant property that you have along Saratoga, this wouldn't be a bad time to talk about it, because the properties along Ogden now seem to be, if you will, in play for potential redevelopment. So I want to bring that to you and answer any questions that you might have, either on that topic or on anything that I've talked about. I know the mayor will be happy to answer the questions too. Oh, and I wanted to hand out to you a map of all those properties. I'm sure you're all familiar with them, but I just thought I would print that out. And the black borders indicate the different property owners. Obviously, the township has the big piece. I'll do one to the mayor too. And if, by the way, if you decide this is something you don't want to be interested in selling at any point, that's okay too. I'll carry that message back to the broker that inquired.
Any questions for Michael or for Maritella?
Is this going to be common knowledge, what's anticipated for this corner? Will it be a larger gas station? Will it be a restaurant? I mean, I'm just curious.
That's a good question. There are some specific users looking at the FDIC property. That is not the case with the Marathon Station. This is someone who's just sort of, I guess in a used car terminology, they're kicking tires. So a broker who's interested in the Marathon property on behalf of a client who I don't know who that is, their client, I think, came by for a visit and said, gee, that's an awful small piece. Boy, look at that piece behind it. Could that be available either in part or whole? And so he asked his broker, why don't you look into that? And they contacted me, and now I'm here before you. So I don't think there's any specific use intended. I think it's just a case of a broker looking to try to put a deal together, because once development occurs, it's, the properties tend to be, who are behind the new development, they've kind of lost their window, because that's now been developed, they've lost their frontage, if you will, to the main road. So to answer your question, I don't think there's anything specific in mind, it's more, is there an interest? Because if there is, I'll carry that message back.
To follow up on that, Trustee Del Sardo, it's a good question, and obviously, this is very high level, very preliminary, and if something were actually to come up, then that would be something would actually be pursued by Michael in his office, and would only come to the village and beyond once it got a little more concrete. But one of the challenges that Ogden Avenue has always had, and you probably know that Ogden Avenue is still known in some corners of the world as Old Plank Road. And it was called Old Plank Road for a good reason, because it actually used to be an Old Plank Road. One of the biggest challenges of Ogden Avenue from the standpoint of the Ogden Avenue Master Plan, or even the new comprehensive plan the village adopted earlier this year, is lack of lot depth. I mean, Ogden Avenue is a very old corridor. It doesn't have deep lots like you have in other areas that were developed later in time that can support modern developments with all the requirements of parking and access, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things that our comprehensive plan envisions is the possibility of acquiring or assembling parcels or facilitating that to happen where it makes sense to do so in order to support a more modern economic development model, whatever that might be. So one of the questions that you often get is what kind of assemblage could be possible for an area, because then once you start answering the questions of available acreage, potentially available acreage, and the developers are the ones that are very creative about how to get that done. We simply are the facilitators when it comes to that. But that's one of the things that the question comes all the time is, what might be available in terms of potential square footage, because then once you have square footage, you would then earn different layers, if you will, of the types of uses that can be attracted. I don't know if that's answering or helping at all, but that's an important challenge that we have.
I think in this case, because there's a signal at Saratoga, it's a very attractive corner, that if the township were to sell off even a small piece of your vacant property, which is adjacent to it, you've made that an attractive piece even more attractive. Because now that small lot with a signal now is a decent sized lot, as the mayor said, with more depth with a traffic signal. It's really the signal that makes that corner really attractive. But it's the property itself is small.
And right in one corner there you have a dentist, I don't know what his plans are. There's a dental office right behind there.
This
Yeah.
Behind the vacant FDIC
Yes.
property?
yes.
Yes. Now the folks that are working on that one, they have not expressed an interest to me in acquiring that small office building. I think they're going to try to make what they've got in mind work there. It's the folks that have the property in front of your vacant piece that have expressed an interest in it.
The gas station.
The gas
Right, the
station.
mobile station.
And one of the things that I use the land use plan, other towns call it a comprehensive plan, as my guide. Because that tells me, I already know what the property is zoned. That tells me what the village would like to see for a future use, if and when a property becomes available and is ready for development. And so it is designated as a commercial piece, the vacant property, but you're the property owner. So the decision is all up to you. If it's something you would like to consider, great. If not, that's okay too.
Well, this property was acquired 8 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, parcel by parcel, in a master plan to enlarge the township, change the parking area, kind of modernize it. And we found that we really didn't need to, at this point, unless I'm saying something wrong, we don't really need a larger building, so we have this property. And as far as I know, we have no major plans for it. Am I correct? Wasn't the high school?
You're doing fine.
High school was interested at one time?
Downers North, 3 years ago, contacted me and wanted to put it in their 5-year plan to do what they've been doing. It's no longer in their plan, but I got a call from
Superintendent
McDonald one day this week. He had been talking to Brian Chajewski, and Brian mentioned the vacant property that you were interested in, because I told him about it. And they have they're doing a special needs they're teaching special needs kids over at Westmont South School. And I guess the contract ran out and they're not going to renew. So they're looking for a place. So they were interested in this building for teaching special needs. And I told them that the building's not for sale. And then Mr. McDonald talked about eminent domain things, but I don't think that's possible. I'd have to defer to the council here, but government to government.
Man, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, but
You know, one of the
anyway,
interest-
that's the latest with Superintendent McDonald.
Well, at any rate, we weren't sitting here we're not here, and I know Mr. Casa isn't suggesting a course of action. I think he was
Right.
more or less communicating current state of affairs, just so you're aware of it, because obviously your plans are the most important thing from your perspective. We just want to make sure that you're aware of it, because part of Michael's job is being that LaSalle Bank commercial of putting the two people together.
Yes.
And if something comes of it, fantastic. But we wouldn't want something not to happen because of a lack of information and awareness of you know, what's in the overall plan. I know from the village perspective, we obviously had all sorts of plans a few years ago before the Great Recession with respect to our facilities, and those have now changed given the new normal and where we're at. So we're looking at different strategies and different approaches to deal with some of our facilities needs. So that's the other reason why I think these conversations are very important, because the school district's having the same kind of conversations about their facilities, and you know, they shouldn't happen in a vacuum is all I'm saying. To the extent that we can work together, and not necessarily this, but more generally, going back to my earlier comments, sometimes there are more opportunities between us than there are individually.
Well, Trustee Del Sardo's correct in that we don't have any set plans for that property. So we certainly consider and take under advisement your offer for property and discuss it at a later date.
Because from what I understand, if I heard you correctly, if this parcel independently is worth X and this parcel is independently worth Y, if they're combined together, they're worth more than X plus Y.
That's correct.
And if X sells and gets developed, then our value will actually go down because it can no longer be combined in a bigger thing.
Yeah, let's say, for example, for the sake of argument, someone put up a restaurant on that corner, and they've already constructed their building, they probably, unless they for additional parking, they probably don't need your property anymore. So, if it's something that does interest you, even in a small way, I'd be happy to put you in touch with some folks. Doesn't commit you to anything, but it's probably better to be part of the process earlier on than later. And again, remember, the important part is that I notice you've got like 5 lots here. If you only wanted to park with one of them, that's something I can carry that message back. So, or none, whatever you want. But just let me know. I'll be happy to carry that message back, whatever you decide, or as you're giving that some thought. No urgent rush.
Just information only.
Yes.
Good.
Clarification, the properties you're referring to are these 3 or all of them, even the one on the corner of Prince?
It would be these here.
Okay.
Yes.
So this
I'm
one
over
is
right
not
now.
part of what you're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, the question she was asking was the 2 frontage properties, one on the corner of Prince and Ogden, and one which is the vacant piece, and the gas station. While there may be some value in having the 2 of them developed together, it appears that they're being developed separately. They're 2 separate companies, 2 separate brokers, 2 separate potential users. I actually told them they should probably try to do something together, but it doesn't appear that's going to happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you for inviting us. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting if you want, or
We wouldn't dream of leaving. Thank you.
Can I discuss that with the mayor?
next item on the agenda is the red ribbon resolution. Diane?
Okay, we do this every year. I get tongue twisted saying red ribbon, so. Whereas drug and alcohol abuse in the United States prevents millions of people from reaching their full potential at school, on the job, and in their communities. And whereas research indicates that young people who avoid the early use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs are less likely to engage in self-destructive behaviors such as crime, delinquency, and other harmful activities. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Week is designed to raise awareness of the dangers of drug use while encouraging all citizens to take an active role in their community drug prevention activities. And whereas the 2012 observance of Red Ribbon Week with the theme, "The Best Me is Drug-Free," provides residents of Downers Grove Township the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to healthy drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons. Now therefore, the town board does hereby proclaim October 23 through October 31, 2012 as Red Ribbon Week throughout the township of Downers Grove, and encourages all citizens to work together in making our communities healthy and safe places to live. Dated this 4th day of October 2012. We need a motion on it.
Could I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the red ribbon resolution as presented.
Second.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. In July 5th meeting, we talked about salaries. We froze all of the salaries for the elected officials for the next 4 years. I'd like to revisit that meeting and talk about salaries again. And also the benefit of the stipend that we talked about at that time. I'd like to discuss that this evening.
Well, there's been some changes in the trustees' duties here in the last year or so. We only meet once a month now instead of twice. And I would like to just present to the board the idea of lowering the trustees' salary from $6,000 a year to $4,800, which essentially is $100 a meeting less. I think that's appropriate for how we've been working. We've kind of streamlined our invoice approval situation. And also there's a stipend of what, $150 per month. And I believe we can eliminate that also, and that gives another savings. So that would be my proposal or motion to lower the trustee salaries to $4,800.
Before you make the motion, what I'd like to do is cover all the salaries for all elected officials and do one motion. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, we can do one motion as long as we can agree to do one motion.
Okay.
We have addressed this, we have voted on the salaries, so, and it was approved unanimously, so anybody in that body, in this body, can move to reconsider that vote, and that's what you're doing.
Okay. One correction, there's stipend is $100 for the next term, not $150. I think you said $150.
It was $150.
Oh, excuse me, it's $150 now,
Yeah.
we made it $100, yes, all right.
Just to
I'll
clarify
correct
that a little bit.
Yes.
3 years ago, we eliminated the insurance, the Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance from trustees to cushion that. We offered a stipend of $150 a month. That was a good decision at that time, but I don't think it's any longer the thing to do. I don't think it's fair that 2 trustees receive the stipend and 2 don't, and 2 are not going to accept it. So fairness across the board, I'd like, I agree with Bob, I'd like to eliminate it. And in addition to that, the clerk is at $27,500. I would like to see that lowered to $20,000, a decrease of $7,500 annually. The trustees would be at $4,800 annually, with the decrease of was from 6,000 to 4,800. I'd like to leave the supervisor the same, and the highway commissioner the same. I'd like to raise the salary of the assessor by $4,500 to make it $99,500. And in addition to that, I would like to freeze, I'd recommend that we freeze the salaries, as we did the last time, with the changes for the next 4 years.
Well,
so that would be-
Would they be automatically frozen? We
You
can't
could
change
have,
them.
you could have a stepped program.
Oh, I see. Oh,
You can vote on it.
this is the,
There would be other options. This is, So I would entertain a motion, two such motions, one for the stipend benefit. Well, is it all part of the salary?
First, you're gonna do a motion to reconsider, so how about having a motion to reconsider the salary?
Motion to reconsider.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, aye?
I,
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay.
Now, your present motion is as it was stated by Mr. Wooster, provided he actually gets somebody to make that motion.
For all the salary.
Motion for the salaries?
Do I have to repeat all?
No, you have to, basically, somebody has to motion that. You don't have to repeat what he just said.
I'll make a motion to adjust the salaries as discussed by Supervisor Wooster.
Okay?
Second.
A second.
Then you need a roll call.
Aye.
do we have to have the figures in that motion, or?
Well, we understand what the figures are. Does anybody in the audience need those repeated? Then I think we all are clear on what those numbers were.
You want to repeat it? All right, the supervisor's salary is going to stay at $49,500 for 4 years. The clerk's going to go down to $20,000. The highway commissioner is going to stay at $9,500 for 4 years. Trustees are going to go down to $4,800 for 4 years. And the assessor is going to go up to $99,500 for 4 years.
And a
And
stipend is
there's
going to be...
no stipends be given to anybody.
And no insurance benefit for the clerk.
Right, well, that was already in there, the old one.
That's the motion, that's the second, and that's clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a roll call.
I had a question on
Yeah.
the reduction of payroll to the trustees was because we've gone from 2 meetings to 1 meeting? So that means we're doing less than we ever did?
That's the premise, yes.
That's the premise?
Yes.
Okay.
We're meeting less than we ever did, if I could correct my English.
Really?
I think we have the same duties, but we're doing it by meeting once a month instead of twice.
Right.
We're not doing less.
Cut our meetings in half.
Could I just want to, could we make the record show that we went from X dollars to X dollars, so when we read the minutes in a future time period, we know that we made these reductions that are pretty significant, I think, in some cases. So from 6,000 to 4,800, from
Yeah, I'll put
27,
it down.
okay.
Well, my question was, is this based upon 1 meeting versus 2, or is there more to it than that?
No, well, for me, I guess it's 1 meeting against 2, yes. Technically, we should be,
But you think from that we cannot do what we used to do? Is that what you're saying?
no, we're still doing what we've always done. We're doing it in 1 meeting instead of 2. And I think that there's a justification for a salary decrease. That's all I can say.
Oh, so you're not saying we're doing less, but maybe we were overpaid in that with this figure?
Well, now you're going in another direction, but
No, I'm not. I'm finding out what you're basing the reduction on. And, you know, that's fine. If the township needs something like that, that's perfectly fine. But I don't want anybody to get the impression that we're doing less than we used to do.
I guess I'll repeat myself again, we're doing the same amount of work in one meeting a month than two meetings. That's the premise. We're not doing, I don't know what else to tell you.
Good, it's a good point. And
That's a good point.
the good point is that we're still doing, you guys are still doing as much work as you did before. But you're doing it with one meeting a month. Yeah. So you're spending less time at the township on a monthly basis.
All right, we have a first and a second. Do I want a roll call?
Well, this was discussion, so that's fair. Any further discussion?
Do we need a motion? Or
We
should
have
just-
one.
No, we have,
We have a motion, we have a second.
Just to clarify, the stipend is $100 a month that we're eliminating, and $150 for the clerk that we're eliminating. And I think we have all the details. So if you could do a roll call, Dan, appreciate it.
William Swanston,
Yes.
Robert Del Sardo,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Frank.
Aye. Moving on to supervisor's report, I was going to talk about Superintendent Mark McDonald's comments, since I've already done that. I have nothing further to add to the supervisor's report.
Did he threaten you with that?
No, he just mentioned it. The conversation didn't last too much longer after that. I told him I was going to mention it tonight, and I'd get back to him. And I will. How do you guys feel about this? Yeah, eminent domain, someone trying to take over the building to teach.
I'd rather sell it.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, exactly.
Is that even possible, eminent domain between two?
I don't know, I asked him.
I think it's very difficult, and I would have to let
Oh, I know, well, I'll explain.
argue that.
Okay, all right.
You have to have specific language to do that in your statute, so we have to make sure that they do that.
I mean, obviously, it could be done, one selling the parcel to the other.
Well, there's cases
With
around
the-
here,
in
in
agreement.
Woodridge, and
Yeah.
Woodridge tried to with the school district. Same school district, actually. They have specific language, statutory authority.
To clarify for the minutes, Diane didn't know what I was talking about. Superintendent Mark McDonald called earlier this week and was interested in our property, specifically the building. They're teaching special needs kids over at Westmont South School. Their contract expired and they're not going to renew. So he was interested in this building.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
So that's what you mentioned before.
That's what that's what I mentioned when Mayor Toller was at the podium. Anything else, Millie?
So he's looking for the building, not the envelope.
Yeah, oddly enough, we have had 2 inquiries in one.
Yeah, one was building, one was red.
What's next? Air rights.
4 or 5 years ago, nobody was even concerned about that property.
And it's so little.
Well, there were 4 houses on it, there was actually an apartment building on the corner. It was a rat's nest in real estate terms, and I think we bought it at the right time. The value went up considerably, of course it's all vacant land, and then it I don't want to say crashed, but it went down with the economy, but we still have it, and I kind of hate to leave it go with it. This is all a long-range plan. If we had a real logical use for it, not to say we don't have one, but we could have one.
Well, you're using
I
it
would
as a
entertain
rec
it.
site now. You're using it for recreational purposes for the employees.
Evidently,
You have a purpose.
So to Frank, on a more tactical note, what is the process if so, if now or 5 years from now, it looks like someone's coming after us on eminent domain? What is the process for us to get involved? Do we hold a special session? I mean, I think they're a corporate board, they're about to be taken over, there's a set plan in place on how they would respond.
Well, it's never happened in my history. I have a whole history. They would file a condemnation action, and then they would serve us, and then we would be embattled in pricing this property, if they had a legitimate legislative court opportunity. And the fight would be on appraisals, valuations, and their, first and foremost, their right to do eminent domain.
Yeah, so if they have the right statutory authority, they just need to file it, and then it becomes a hazard price.
Then it becomes a price battle and a time price battle.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then they gotta pay fair value, but then it's a battle.
Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. I say it. Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Very efficient.
It's nice to meet you. Likewise. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you. I think it's the right thing to do, but quite frankly, we don't have any choices.
We don't, and it's necessary. It's nice that you want to work together.
Really, if you don't, you're gonna pay the cost.
Maybe you can bring that willingness to work together.
We'll start.